Well, when Patrick Brown fell out of the race, I thought that was a big deal. I thought that there was a very realistic possibility. Patrick Brown was good at signing up new members, at reaching out to new Canadians, and that set up the possibility of a dynamic, but whereby Patrick Brown would throw his support to Jean Charest on the final ballot, or vice versa. When Brown's candidacy fell out, um, the uh, to me, the election became far more predictable. Of course, we can always be proven wrong, um, but um, the interesting thing is, and I guess the thing that's controversial, and I'm still not too sure about, is whether Patrick Brown had to be disqualified as quickly and as unqualifiedly as he was. Is that a reflection of the on the election? And then of course Poilievre received Stephen Harper's endorsement not too long after that. Is this a sign of the party, the new party establishment being very confident that if Stephen Harper did it, that is a fairly ideological right-wing conservative pursuing an incremental strategy against a liberal government that's been in power for a long time, that they can succeed without sacrificing their principles and going all sort of soft and centrist. And certainly the opinion surveys do show an interesting ambiguity. 55% of Canadians, according to a July Angus Reid poll, are ready for a change in government. They think, what was the precise wording of the question? It was, well, they think it's time for a change. But on the other hand, when you look at what they think of Pierre Poilievre's policies, 48% of Canadians think that canceling the carbon tax and other anti-energy laws is a bad idea. Defunding the 51% think that defunding the CBC is a bad idea. 46% think that firing the governor of the Bank of Canada is a bad idea. 69% think that continuing to support the trucker convoy protests is a bad idea. And 67% thought that his idea to embrace the cryptocurrency Bitcoin as a way to avoid inflation is a bad idea, as it turned out to be. Because when the Bitcoin market crashed, he didn't look so smart then. But so you have this ambiguity, and apparently, the Stephen Harpers and Ian Brodys of this world are confident that they can make this work somehow, that this contradiction between the unpopularity of Poilievre's policies and the fact that there's this general desire for change.
Yeah, I'd just add to that the interesting evolution of the race with, as Mark says, with the forced withdrawal of Patrick Brown. It's between Jean Charest and Pierre Poilievre. Jean Charest denies that he's running as a red Tory. He said, I'm going to run as a blue Tory. He's aware of the deeply held conservative values at the base that are driving the party. But effectively, he's become the banner of what used to be called the Red Tory, which is basically to say conservative politics economically, but, Robert Stanfield kind of stuff, gentle and kind and a nice person. That's not going to work, in my opinion. It's actually quite popular with Canadians. Another poll, other than the one that Mark indicated, I think from August 10th, it was a Léger poll. It indicated that while Poilievre is far ahead of Charest in support of conservative voters, in terms of voters as a whole, Charest is much preferable to Poilievre. There's the electorate as a whole would rather see Charest as leader had more sympathy for Charest than they do for Poilievre. But the thing that matters in a leadership race is not the electorate as a whole, it's the party membership. And the party membership is trending hard to the right. Poilievre did what I considered to be the scandalous thing of embracing the convoy, like absolutely embracing this appalling assertion of, I don't even know what to call it, aggressive, loud, anti-science, anti-intellectual, anti-public policy, right-wing politics. And in an earlier era, you would think that that would marginalize him, put him on the far right extremist wing of Canadian politics. It's going to win in the leadership race. And it reflects the kinds of changes that are happening inside the base of the conservative movement in Canada, not unlike the changes that have been taking place in the Republican Party in the United States, where we're seeing it's much more acceptable at the top to be extremely right wing than it was even 5 or 6 years ago. And in fact, not only is it more tolerable, increasingly, it's the way for a right-wing leadership candidate to make gains by playing to this kind of extreme right-wing rhetoric. That's how you actually move yourself forward. And Poilievre, by the way, who portrays himself as very anti-politician, is himself a career politician. We should actually point this out. He's ever since he's been a teenager, he's been, part of the Ottawa bureaucracy, part of the political bureaucracy in Canada, but that doesn't seem to matter. He articulates the anti-elite rhetoric that is one of the driving forces of this new configuration of the right wing in Canada. So we'll see. But it's always a mug's game to make predictions, but it looks very much like he's going to win.